Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here and my pleasure to share with you, help you apply all the most effective, fun, nerdy brain body tools so you could take better control of your thoughts, of your emotions, and most importantly, actions you take daily so you could create the life experience that you absolutely love living. Folks, there is this saying that your life is gonna be what's on your calendar, or your calendar. Show me your calendar, I'm going to show you your future. And there is so much truth to that. How we spend our time is what we create more of in our life, literally. And that's what shapes our future. It's very, very simple. It has nothing to do with some manifestation magic. It's as simple as, well, if you work on something, it will improve, it will grow, just like a plant. You have a plant, you put water, you put nutrients, you set up all the conditions, it will grow. You put in more energy, effort, focus, attention into something, it will grow and improve and develop. So your schedule, it's one of the most important things you need to pay attention to. And what's also really important, to constantly be questioning it, be redesigning it. New Year resolutions and plans and strategies are amazing to shape the path to your future. Like, if you don't know where you're going, any path will lead you there. You need to have a North Star. Like, where is it all going? What am I optimizing for? But first of all, that North Star can change from time to time. I find it very calming that I have something constant that haven't really changed for 2 decades of my life. Like, I know what's the vision of the future that I want to contribute to. And the rest can be super, super flexible. But that one North Star contributing to a version of the world where more people use their full potential, that's what my life is all about. How am I going to do that with services, apps, my coaching? So far, for 15 years, it's been coaching. But down the road, I don't know, maybe there is a better way for me to serve the same purpose. And I'm okay with that. Today, folks, it's about flexibility, the other side of success. Meaning, the first side, you need to be rigid about putting in the work consistently. Like, if you have a vision of being in top health and fitness shape of your life, and you're super solid about that, you need to be rigid about investing into that vision with your choices, making aligned choices so you arrive into this destination. And then, hey, maybe that vision will at some point change and you decide that your top shape is now different. But you got to be rigid about making a majority of your choices investing into your long-term goal, if that goal still makes sense. But then flexibility part comes in, like, what is the best way to get me there? Maybe it's like, example has nothing to do with like some scientific strategies. Let's say it's running and you decide to put on your schedule a lot of running, but then you learn that long distance running isn't actually the best way to get to your goals, but sprinting is. So now you can change and adapt because of new information, and you can reschedule things. Or, for example, you thought that this diet, like keto low carb diet, is the diet. But then you learned, and this is a true story, but then you learn that's actually not what keto is not what made my health work. And actually then it made it worse. Actually, what made it work is better quality foods. So now, instead of having this rigidity about not eating a gram more of carb that is on my plan, instead of that, I'm like, no, actually eating fruit, eating vegetables, eating beans, eating like all these amazing whole foods, carbohydrate sources, that actually works even better. I feel better and I get better results. So I adjust what I do, but the goal is still the same. And also what fitness and health also is flexible for me. But let's get back to idea of balance of rigidity and flexibility. And so the same applies to your schedule. You know what I find was holding me back for so long, and what holds a lot of companies back, a lot of leaders back, especially successful leaders? They find a strategy that works for them, that worked for them to get them where they are now, and they just keep doing that. Even though they are stuck on the same level, even though the world has changed and there is a better way to achieve their next level, they still keep doing the same thing because guess what? Our brain's tendency is to keep doing what worked. But our brain is a little bit stubborn in that way that it doesn't always take into account right away, because change is hard, the fact that, well, we've changed, the world changed, and the way we get to the next level also probably has to change. And again, it's new environment. Next level is not the same level. You know, there is book good to great, or also a phrase, what got you here won't get you there. We gotta be adjust. And in our era where everything is changing and at accelerated pace, we need to change our schedule at an accelerated pace. Now, again, I'm not talking about here flexibility, about wishy-washy, going with the flow and some emotion because it's hard and it's challenging and we just want to take it easy, even though it doesn't really lead to where we want to go. I'm not talking about that flexibility. I'm talking about flexibility, what happened this week. So I put my plan in my calendar on Sunday. But then on Monday, I had a couple of meetings, and one of those meetings ended up in a project and I needed to do the work right away. So I'm like, okay, let me look at this other stuff that I planned for Monday and Tuesday. That actually doesn't make sense because what just happened leads me toward my goal faster and has a much better return on investment of my time. So I readjusted my schedule. Or then the next day, what happened? I started chatting with a lot of potential customers and I planned a certain lead generation or starting conversation strategy. But then one conversation went really well and it reminded me of a few other conversations that went similarly. And I thought to myself, that might be a much better strategy of getting new clients and finding people who I can work with, who I can serve with what I have to offer. I'm like, let me actually adjust what I wanted to do for the rest of the week and let me try this strategy instead. Let me double down on what I found to be working. And I'm doing that right now. And I'm getting a lot more replies now that it's becoming hard to even manage them. So I need to, again, readjust my schedule and figure out a strategy how to manage it better. And also reevaluate my schedule. Well, if this is working, let me try it for another week or so. And if that manifests in decrease in sales, that's what I care about, in decrease in signed up on customers, then let me redo my scheduling again so I could dedicate more time to this until it makes sense. I was listening to also Leila Hormozi. She is, I think, 30, maybe 32, and she's very young. And in the past decade, she built herself into an amazing CEO. She manages a portfolio of companies that have multi-million-dollar revenues. She's a great CEO from everything that you can learn about her. And she made a video and she was talking about how she constantly, every single day, sometimes several times per day, reevaluates what's on her schedule. Because if what she tries doesn't work, doesn't move her towards the ultimate goal or the constraining factor, like, our business is not growing because of X, so let us redistribute resources so we could address that. Because if we remove the obstacle, the business will grow and everything else will go easier. So she constantly reevaluates, okay, this meeting, did it go well? Did it not go well? Should I do more of this, less of this? What is it leading towards? And so the same for me. I reevaluate my schedule several times per day. Basically, every meeting, every event I go to, and it's quite a recent occurrence, to be honest. So I used to be a lot more rigid. And the less rigid I am in my idea of how success should come into my life, the better results I'm starting to get in all areas, whether that's health, relationships, fitness, or financial, and growing my business. So in the next year, I'm 100% sure I'm going to be on a completely different level, speaking with you for more experience. But what I'm noticing and learning from more successful people's more successful in all areas than I am, what I'm noticing is they are very flexible, and that I should model that and be a lot less rigid and a lot more flexible about, again, every meeting, every event, every conversation, everything that happens. I now schedule the time, usually like 5 minutes, but I just jot down on a piece of paper in a note app, and I make sure to get back to it and capture the most essential elements. So I jot down, okay, based on this information, based on what just happened, how can I readjust what I'm doing so I get my 80-20, the 20% of things that give me 80% of results, right? This kind of person, should I meet more of these people, less of those people? Is it the person I need to interact for, want to interact for any specific person? Every time I schedule in this couple of minutes of reflection time, and you wouldn't believe how much difference it's started to make. If I know that, okay, this is a great event for startup founders, but none of those startup founders actually are ready to invest themselves into the service that I offer to startups, then why would I go to those events? Like, yeah, it's cool to meet like-minded people, but most of them get into the event, get out, and you don't even get to learn a lot or talk to a lot of people. But then if you actually network with investors, investing firms who oversee a lot of startup initiatives, you actually get to talk to people who have the decision-making capacity to spend more money or to invest into mindset training, into stress management training, into communication skills training, into failure and setbacks handling, and all of this stuff. They actually have the capacity to invest in that. And that's where I should be networking, where most of those people are. And that's how I also get to access to more founders much, much easier, because one person can lead you to like 30 or 50 founders, and it's going to be an ongoing gig, right? So always reevaluating what I'm doing and how. And again, it's not even a weekly thing, or a monthly or half a year. No, it's a thing that you do every day, several times per day. And again, especially in the age when everything's starting to change so rapidly, that is not a luxury. That is a necessity. And that's why I understand the purpose of strategic planning, but only if that strategic planning in itself has a built-in process for reevaluation of the tools and steps that we choose to actually get to the most essential outcomes. And then also, obviously, there has to be a time, well, if COVID hits or something drastic happens, we need to rapidly reevaluate. But obviously, pandemic is one of a kind story, but there are so many other things that can be affecting your business, and you need to be readjusting your strategy based on that. And if you're not a business, you're building your career, the same is true here. Work with how reality is right now and what life is showing you right now versus living in the imaginary land of your brain and doing things just because you decided it's a good idea. Well, did you get any confirmation from life? And if you did not, then might not be that great of an idea if you're interested in making anything in the world happen. And hey, you might say, well, you're just one person. If it's a big organization, that doesn't really work that well. Or maybe I have a team of people, etc., etc. But I, for example, got certified on a goal setting system used till this day, from the very beginning till this day, at Google. And guess what? What I learned based on their actual playbook is Google is very flexible. They give a lot of autonomy to the teams locally. What they also do, every week they reevaluate what brings results, and based on that, they change strategy. Obviously, a more long-term strategy, like we want to be a place that brings to people all the available information in a structured way. And so it's available to everyone. And we are building a world, where data information available equally to everyone. So that's like overarching vision. But the rest of the things, how they get there. Have you seen how many tools Google has? Do you remember how many things they try? There's always something new popping in, this, and then it goes away because it doesn't really work. They are super flexible. And it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, companies out there. Super, super flexible. So flexibility is the king of the game to success, especially in the fast-changing world where we all need to adapt as our schedules need to. So what's the takeaway from today's podcast? Well, the takeaway is do more reflection after each meeting, after each milestone of the project, at the end of each day, definitely at the end of each week. Like what's working, what's not working, what are you tracking, what are you not tracking, what do you need to start tracking? If you things are not moving forward, and I'm telling this to myself, it's also a note to myself, if the things are not moving where they need to be moving, obviously patience also has to be there. Like some things take time. In coaching with my clients, we'll give this 2 weeks of trial, doing it consistently. And if we don't see the result that we want to see, we need to adjust. So the same here. Some period of time is necessary. For different things, it's going to be different. But whenever you do something, reevaluate. Like take a couple of minutes. Did it work? Did not work? What could have done better? How can I redesign my schedule? Don't be one of the people's like, I've scheduled this meeting all my week, and then something or somebody comes into your life and you feel that might be the opportunity of a lifetime, and you tell them, let's meet up next month. Are you kidding me? You just missed something that could have transformed your life. Now, how do you know if that's the opportunity? That's where you also need to spend time on presence, being mindful, being self-aware, having clarity about where you want to go and why. What kind of people you want to work with? Who you want to be friends with? Who do you want to be your mentors? What kind of relationship do you want to have? All of that, when you have clarity about that, when you practice mindfulness tools, when you become deeply self-aware, that's when you feel like this, I should prioritize. And also create time and space in your calendar. Do not try to make yourself as busy as possible. You cannot pour more in already overflowing cup. You need to create space first before the things that are meant to be in your schedule are going to be there. It's like finding a partner for a lifetime. You kind of got to be single first. Creating the space and time for that person to come into your life. And on that note, guys, have an awesome midweek, or whenever you happen to be catching this podcast episode. Stay tuned for the recovery episodes, not just sleep. No, we're not talking about sleep here at all. We're talking about thoughts. We're talking about growth mindset. We're talking about nutrition that creates the brain that makes the best decisions, that is creative, learning fast. We're talking about all of that and how that is ultimately why so many business owners cannot out-delegate themselves out of business. So stay tuned for that. And don't forget to please, guys, share this podcast with more people, because the more of us know this information and use it, the better world we create faster. So be a part of the change. I'm making this podcast, doing my part. So please do share. It will mean a world, not just to me, but the people who will benefit from it as well. So stay tuned, stay awesome, stay flexible.